So some news mid-March, JP Morosi. Amid all the injury news, we need some good news leading the league in information. Good morning to you. When I turned on 30 Clubs in 15 days, I saw Jake Peavy talking with Gunnar Henderson and him talking about how he's almost healthy. Does Brandon Hyde rely on him for opening day? What's the timeline? Good morning.
Lauren, good morning. There is still a chance for Gunnar Henderson to get back and be part of the Orioles opening day lineup, but time is short because he continues to deal with an intercostal strain that has recently held him out of game action. Here's a look at Grayson Rodriguez as well. There's been some talk about when potentially Henderson can come back. The idea right now, and that's sort of when this issue first occurred, as he strained his intercostal there, making that play at shortstop. He has been taking some swings in a cage. He's been able to get some ground balls there with the intercostal strain. But at the moment in time, Lauren, it's still TBD on whether or not he's able to come back and be there in the opening day lineup. Also, Jorge Mateo notably coming back from last year's injury. He may also be able to come back by the end part of this month or early next. But this is a key question for a team that is hoping to be able to make it back to the playoffs. Of course, no Corbin Burns. He is now a Diamondback. And you consider as well the issues with Grayson Rodriguez and his injury. And then, of course, Kittredge as well. So the Orioles have had somewhat of an injury-plagued spring. We've talked a lot about the Yankees and their injuries. But I would say this, that it's hard to think of a more important player to the Orioles than Gunnar Henderson. And again, he is very much uncertain for opening day at this stage.
And can't afford a setback, so take your time, I guess, is the reasoning. Burns a Diamondback, you said it. We spoke with Torey Lovullo the very first day of spring training, and he talked about how he has decisions to make. At the top of the list, closer. Who's closing out games for Arizona? Who's on the list?
Lauren, still an open competition right now for the Diamondbacks, and I would say it's under the category of good problems to have because they could trust any one of these three to be able to close games for them. A.J. Puck, Justin Martinez, Kevin Ginkel, who has thrived in a setup role for the D-backs over the last couple of years. And look at those numbers that A.J. Puck has put up since he made the move to the D-backs in that trade from the Marlins. A really effective pitcher, of course, from the left side. So that's really a really encouraging decision for the Diamondbacks to make. Now, Jordan Montgomery, one more name to watch carefully with the D-backs here. His next start, according to Steve Gilbert of MLB.com, is going to come on the backfields today. So Montgomery is someone who, of course, he had a tough first year with the Diamondbacks. His most recent outing in the Cactus League was not very good. And Montgomery trying to find a way just to simplify things and get back to being the all-star caliber pitcher that he's been in the past. And the Diamondbacks believe the best way for him to do so is to potentially start on a backfield today and just try to get himself back into rhythm. As I mentioned, Corbin Burns no longer an Oriole. He is a Diamondback, so they do have some more support in the rotation right now for Montgomery to work his way back, but the D-backs believing that he could potentially take a step forward by taking a step back and having today's outing be on the backfields there in the Cactus League.
That's so interesting because if you listen to New Yorkers, they want him back in the Yankees rotation. A different role in Arizona, perhaps. It's a closer for Arizona. It is a fifth starter for the Angels. What will Ron Washington's rotation look like this year, JP?
Lauren, I like the Angels pitching depth. I think they're a team that has been a bit overlooked in the American League West. I look at the fact they brought in Kikuchi, who has been somewhat limited in terms of his major league spring training game workload to this point in time. But Hendricks has pitched really well. Soriano and Anderson, their spring numbers have been a little bit up and down. But I see a pathway for Detmers and Kohanowitz in particular to be able to step into that fifth starter role and really give Ron Washington some depth there at the back end of the Angels rotation. Kohanowitz, there you see his stuff. It's played up this spring. I've been really impressed by what he's been able to do. He's been able to get stretched out. He's had some pretty good outings. Looking pretty efficient there is Kohanowitz. Look at that nice four-seam action movement up and away there. And then Detmers, of course, we saw him throw a no-hitter in the major leagues, a bit of an up-and-down year. He's coming this year in really good shape. I like what Detmers can offer, of course, the former Louisville Cardinal. So this is a really up-and-coming rotation, I believe, from the standpoint of the Angels. We talk about the Mariners with their concerns having Kirby on the IL to begin the year. Do not be surprised if the Angels, newly fortified with Trout back in the everyday lineup, now having Detmers and Kohanowitz in the fifth spot, potentially one of the other. I like their starting depth. That's a team to watch this season.
Matty has a front row seat. He always talks about Neto and Ohapi, a lot of pieces to like in Anaheim to build on. All offseason long, JP, you have invited us into your conversations with Hall of Famers, your Road to Cooperstown podcast. Joe Mauer, the latest conversation. How cool. What were your discussions like?
Yes, Lauren. Well, first of all, thanks to you and everybody at Hot Stove for allowing me to have these conversations during the course of the offseason, the Road to Cooperstown. It is our final Road to Cooperstown show of this Hot Stove season, and Joe Mauer is our focus today. And Lauren, I love this about Joe Mauer. He's the first millennial Hall of Famer. He's one of us. And so I asked on our Road to Cooperstown conversation with Joe Mauer what he considers to be some of his roles as the youngest of all the Hall of Famers and how he takes that mantle now going forward.
Number one, I'm so thankful to be a part of it, and just humbled by it, and just eager to do whatever I can to help. But also too, I'm very respectful of those who came before me and the things that they're doing, and just have so much respect for and not only the members, but the people there that make it happen. I mean, at the top of the list, Jane Forbes Clark and her family, of what they've done to preserve our game and to share those stories and the people and that make this game great. It really is just an unbelievable place. And, Josh Rawitch, the president, and, Shostakowski. I mean, there's so many people that make it great and make those experiences for families day in and day out. So if I can help in any way, that's great. I am looking forward to going back next summer and welcoming the inductees the way that I was welcomed with our class this year. I was just blown away. The members, obviously the employees at the museum, the city of Cooperstown, just the surrounding. I mean, it's an unbelievable atmosphere and very family like oriented, and just a special place. And I would encourage people to go. It is something to see, and if you're a baseball fan, it's definitely a bucket list item for sure.
Hello. Of the game, and I love what Joe said about what the institution means and how, by bringing new people in, how we're able to then share the story of the game and inspire the dreams of the next generation. So Joe, who's a father to young kids, and his ability to then, and actually he's also a baseball coach, which I love, coaching baseball there in the Twin Cities too, that he has the ability to then shape this institution for generations to come. So Joe Mauer, what a great Hall of Famer, someone who has a great perspective on what the Hall of Fame can be, and certainly encourage you to listen to the Road to Cooperstown podcast with Joe Mauer and all of our Hall of Famers. And again, season 2, Lauren, is coming up. We're already taping our episodes, getting things ready for the new year, so we can't wait to share those episodes during the course of the season ahead.
From St. Paul, Minnesota, hometown kid. How cool is your job, JP? Thanks for sharing all off season long.